Right, hello everybody, welcome. It's season 19 of FRL's SimNet Super Sprint Sunday. Market your bingo cards, number 19, round 2. I am the Wufafa, otherwise known as Greg, and joining me on this commentating endeavour is my new buddy in the comms box, Jack Prentice. How are you, buddy?
Good evening. It's another pleasure to be here. I think last week certainly whetted the appetite, didn't it, for the entirety of the season? And we've got a really tricky track for the drivers to be going around today. Quite tight, quite twisty, but also quite short. So any mistakes can be punished with maximum effect here. Really looking forward to this now. We've got a pretty healthy split, haven't we, across the three tiers? And I think we'll have close run things across all of the three tiers for both races today.
I think that's the way we're looking at it. I mean, it definitely looks like a downforce heavy track. You do need a lot of downforce, and you want a nice light, nimble car to get you around the track, and that is seemingly showing so far in the top 10 in practice, at least, with the Ferraris and McLarens and Porsches dominating. Obviously, there are a few outliers there in terms of Wazza and Donkin and Crossman in some boats, but obviously there is a big back curved section that you can go around and carry a lot of speed, so it's not too surprising that a few of the faster top end cars can make an impact as well.
Certainly a track that rewards the hustlers, isn't it, as we start qualifying? It's only a track that does reward the hustlers, so if you can, especially with the different direction changes, especially in the first sector, if you can get that car hustled round quick and then sort it out down the straight, especially in a Bentley or a Ford, then you will be in business. There's quite a lot of drivers leaving early to get their one-shot qualifying in.
So leading them out is Richings. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we're going to run you through our layout for tonight. As you can see on your right-hand side, we are starting off with a 15-minute quali, but what it doesn't tell you is that this is a one-shot quali. And the way that works is all the drivers can go at any time within the 15 minutes. They can do an out lap, a push lap, and an in lap if they choose. And that is their one and only attempt at setting a fast lap tonight. If they crash on their out lap, they can reset and go again, but any flying lap they started has to be completed if you want it to count. Then after that, we go into a 20-minute sprint race set by this qualifying. There is no mandatory stop for that. It is hell for leather for the full 20 minutes. And then we will have a small lobby reset while they reverse the entire grid of all those cars that completed 75% of the racing laps. Any of those that didn't will start behind those that did. And then we'll go reverse grid start for race 2, which does have a mandatory pit stop. As one of our senior members of the community has joined us in the comments, hello Nico, thanks for joining us this evening. Coming to check in on us on our early days as a pairing, I'm sure. And we're just going to follow Richings around because he is going to be the first one to set a lap. Now, what you can see on the left-hand side of the screen is the split between tiers. The white boxes are your pro tier drivers. The silver or grey boxes are your silver tier, and your red boxes are your AM tier. And they go downwards from pro being your top class of drivers, your pro-am, your silver tier drivers, being your middle tier, and the AM expected to be the slowest but no less experienced drivers at the bottom. Obviously that isn't always how it plays out. You often get a good mix of the AMs that are looking to get moved up after the season end into the next tier. But we are following Richings right now as he's heading towards the Quersha curve. Big heavy braking. You want to roll the car as best you can. There's a little bit of natural camber in this corner. I agree, Nico. It's a fantastically fun track. I used to enjoy it a lot in the Lamborghini. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to enjoy it in my newly switched to Aston Martin. So then, very crucially missed apex for turn 9 to open up turn 10. And now this is the back curve that I was on about. Really flat first corner of Curvone, turn 11. You only have to do a slight lift, but some cars, depending on your downforce setup, can really carry a lot of speed through turn 12 and then finally braking for turn 13 as you make sure your rear end is stable. And braking once again into an even tighter hairpin of Caro, turn 14, as he then flicks it right, heavy curb usage through the final corners. That's turn 15. Fly past the pit entry. And you can really take the mick out of the next edge. You can see all that time marking to the right-hand side. And he's going to start us off with a 1:36.5. So a good showing by Richings early on.
Immediately there, you got Thacker going quicker. Thacker in the AM series, I think, will be towards the top end as Cheplazov goes towards the lead with D'Amica there, 34.9 in a one-shot quali. That's probably a good lap, to be fair. They were setting 34 flats when they're getting a few goes at the Cherry, as we've got now a couple of the AM drivers, Coppens, as we're trying to now see if we can get this car 187. I can see is probably the next on a lap. Who's the car 187 down the back straight going into the final complex? We've got that is David Fars in the new livery, black, red and yellow. And this hairpin, you can really take the mick in terms of the corner entry, because there's two ways to go around. You can either hold it to the inside and gain a couple of tenths that way, or you can V the corner as he goes through the final lap time. I'll hand over to you now, Greg.
So yeah, he clips as much curbing on the inside as he can, doesn't abuse the outside too much, flies towards start line, and he sets a P10 and flies as the track returns to pits. In all that madness, we did just miss D'Amica, setting the timing screens alight. He's gone P1 with a 34.9. Travaggi early, and potentially will come out later to try and attack that one. About 76 going across the line, but he's only just starting his lap, so we'll stay on board. Actually, we'll go to car number 2, which is currently that's Bruce Tully, who's already set up, so we will stay on board with Zabazniak.
Bit of a lull in qualifying at the moment, isn't there? As some drivers have set their times. And then you get a couple of drivers who are just looking for a gap now, because there's 40 cars out, all looking to set their times. And with this being a shorter track, as I referenced earlier, traffic is an issue. So as we are now with Zabazniak, is he on an outlap? It looks like he's on an outlap according to the map. So we'll hopefully be able to hang with him.
I think he's definitely pushing. Then again, I like to push on my outlap. I love warming my tyres up that way.
You never know with this game, do you? You never know. The beauty of ACC. Let's see if we can follow him through the penultimate corner here. Another corner you can really take the mick out of.
Takes a bit of grass on entry into the final turn. Hopefully that won't compromise him too much as he lets the car naturally roll back to the left-hand side. But no, not a valid lap coming from Zabazniak there.
Let's see. I think we can follow him for the whole lap here.
Went to Marshall, but he's so Zabazniak on his lap. So just coming into Rio here. It's like a hairpin with two corners. You do have to take like a scissor entry, cut one, cut the other, but go all the way to the curb on the outside. And now he flies down the turn 7 straight. It is actually classified as a turn on the map, weirdly. And now to Quersha, to the camber of the corner. Flick it all the way back over to the left. Now, you can miss this first apex. You're just trying to carry as much speed round. And then you want to cut really on the second part. Now, it shows quite an early apex there. I wonder how that's going to serve him down this back straight complex. Still looking fairly settled. So still have his foot flat to the floor here, and only now see the car dive down, clip the apex there, settle your rear, and that's a good apex. He's taken a nice late apex there, but I think he could have carried a bit more speed on the exit there. I think that's maybe a bit of inexperience, not carrying the speed out of the corner. He's taking quite an early entry into the final corner as well, and that must be invalid. Surely that's invalid. I don't think they're going to get a valid time here. No, unfortunately, invalidated in the final corner.
Even experience there from Zabazniak. I think the next one on a lap is Hyman's in 17th. Fortunately, just above him on the screen there. So,
just we've got Marshall, who's coming over the line. I did see him start his lap. Where was he going to go?
P9.
P9, great lap. So he's just behind Thacker. So that's. Then I've just seen Crossman, the AM driver, pipping D'Amica for the lead.
I think he's an AM in name only, isn't he? The speed he's been shown in practice a little bit earlier on would suggest that Crossman very much towards the top end of the and echelons now. As Hyman's there. Where does he go? Hyman's, he goes up to second place. That'll do very nicely there for the Dutchman.
Yeah, marginally pipping Diamica. We are still waiting for Travaglioli to come out. He's coming down there, comfortably sat in the pits.
I think it's car 186 next over the line.
This is Cherry Moore. And a very, very colourful Ferrari. Takes a very controlled entry and exit the final corner. And puts himself P20 and last out of the current runners, unfortunately. Not too far away from his next competitor, though. Only about a tenth.
Surprised if there's not plenty of invalidations here. It's a really easy track to invalidate, as I think we throw to you now with finishing of another lap.
Yeah, we've got Kelleher, who's elected not to take the curbing on the entry. And across the line, Kelleher, nope. The game has made a mug out of us.
As it always does. I think car number 19 is the next one I can see who doesn't have blue on him, so I think we could head over to him. That's Gabinio in 28th.
So here he is in the Ferrari. Very tasteful black and red Ferrari. But I will say, like I have every single season, Gabino's in the wrong car. He belongs in a Lamborghini. He will forever belong in a Lamborghini.
Only haven't known him in a Lamborghini.
So twitching and turning around the penultimate corner. How much speed can he carry through here? He's taking all the track limits on the exits. That's a great exit at the final turn. Usually towards the top half. Where does Gabino go? Top 10. Well done. So that puts him 6th in class, with Vidler currently splitting a lot of the silver drivers.
I wonder if he's playing on pad. The inputs look very pad-like to me there, so interesting to see if he's changed his apparatus now, as we have Grace going over the line, don't we?
Yeah, so Grace is going to put himself P11 just behind Colpitts. So a few Fast and Furious times coming in. We're back to car number 89 of Kelleher.
This time it's for real. He flings himself through the final corner, takes a little bit of exit curb there now. Couple of gears down and back on the power as early as possible. Keep the car if you can to the right-hand side for the shortest run. Where do we go here with Dale Kelleher? And it is P26, but he is just off the back of Cherry Moore there, so certainly something you can go racing from there. And I reckon he'll have a couple of cars behind him that have invalidated. So not all bad there for Dale, certainly in the mix there.
So we've gone on board now with Chris Gedman, who have forever in a very boldly liveried car. Always sporting a little bit of flow yellow. Now the Porsche, great on traction, it'll be great in some of the tighter sections of the track, but I've always found just lacks at the top end. So around this section we're going through now, I believe he might be on a lap. He does seem committed going through here, but you don't need to be.
I think he is on a lap. I think he is on a lap. There's a couple who are on out laps behind him, so we'll have a little bit of dead time for the moment. But I think Chris is on a lap. He's certainly driving as if he is now. Goes the shorter way round the hairpin, but does get a little bit wide on exit, and that tightens the line up for the penultimate corner. He's now just got to grab a couple of gears downwards and then just pin it. As soon as he gets to the apex, pin it, keep it to the right-hand side, and take the shortest run possible. He doesn't keep it to the right-hand side, and he crosses the line, and that is 22nd for the Flying Scotsman there. Chris Gibbon, 22nd, and one of those where he can go racing from, and certainly into the wall now. He's not representing another time with that, will he?
No. I mean, he might cut a few corners if he manages to pierce the barrier.
I think one thing to mention whilst there's a few out laps, if you're happy for me to, we'll get to a couple of drivers.
We're just covering Handley here, who's closing on the back of an Aston Martin. Maybe has just impeded him a little bit there. I'm not quite sure, so we'll see if a lap gets set here, because if not, that might be classified as a bit of impeding. So he definitely seemed to be wrapping it around the final bend. No, so I think he might. Whoever that car was for 884, which is Eden, I think that should be impeding, washed away. But they were very close and then backed off quite abruptly. So, yeah.
got a little bit confused with each other, which can happen here. It's important to stay with the rules. We had a couple, didn't we, last week, where they'd set a couple of extra laps, which you're not allowed to do. And if you do, you were rewarded with a pit lane start. Probably one of the worst places to have a pit lane start, because normally when you you've got a pit exit, you exit out into turn 1. Here it's turn 3 and you're at 30 miles an hour until you get pretty much to the apex of turn 3, which will cost you more time. You've got 30 seconds stationary, anyway, have to wait for the cars to go past the pit exit, and then it's another 30 seconds effectively added to your race from there. So you come out almost a minute behind the rest of the pack there, if you do end up having to start from the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dramatic thing to undertake a pit lane start, but if there's a crash at turn 1, you get to skip all of it. All of it. It's all happened in turn 1, and you just get to drive around it. Also at a very slow pace, but you get to drive around it all the same. But now, a crucial lap that's been undertaken right now by Travaglioli. Can he displace the misplaced AM driver of Crossman at the top of the timing sheet? This has been a very, very controlled lap so far as we've been following it without commentary. As he goes through the final corner now, I love watching some of these top drivers because it's just so undramatic, even though he did kick out a bit of the rear there. And he does go top by a quarter of a second over Crossman, so the pros do take it to the top.
Got Sharp there up in third as well, so a pro second in class, obviously behind the misplaced Crossman. I think Crossman looks like he's certainly got race 1 sewn up, hasn't he, if he stays out of trouble, with the next car in class starting 18th and 2 seconds away. Got any stragglers?
So I've just picked up Brown, the only man left in the Lamborghini this season. Previously a very, very preferred car, myself included. I love that thing. The V12 sounds like a demon released from hell. And he's about to go to the Lamborghini. He's going to find the trickiest. Turn 11, 12, 13, where the Lamborghini's forced to carry speed that it just does not want to. As you see the rear end just step out a little bit, but good on the brakes. Lets the car roll around. And beautifully back on the power, nice and early. It's one of the Lamborghini's strengths. Got brilliant nose, can plant the power exactly when you want to. And through the final corner now. Oh, gets a bit unsettled by the rumple on the inside, but does what Jack's been going about, that short line to the line, and goes P4. So that's a great lap time by the Lamborghini driver. Only 300ths down on Sharp ahead.
Look at the amount of drivers, though, within a tenth from third to sixth. So very, very crucial there. There's only one part, you know, you're looking at maybe one corner where you maybe went too far on the brakes or braked a little bit too early. You'll always be looking and saying, maybe I could have gone a bit quicker there. But certainly very, very close behind Travaglioli. And they've just got to hope that maybe they can get past him. The Ferrari not the strongest off the start. And Sharp's got to hope that maybe he can get past him on lap 1.
Yes, Feldman, I see you in the comments. I'm in P2. I do know Crossman myself, and I think you guys are wild childs putting him there. But anyway, to run down, obviously, your standings, it's quite a progressive grid, apart from those two, which did separate themselves at the top. Travaglioli. So Travaglioli leading the way over Crossman by a quarter of a second, and then detached a little bit, 6 tenths further back, we start building the grid. So Sharp and Brown, who saw take a fantastic position at the end in P4, followed by Haymans and Diamica. Then the real section of silver drivers starts from P7 with Chekmasov, then Bruschtully, Jablonski, Serpentine. Then Vidler slices himself into that pack there in P11, followed by Donkin and Colpitts. The silver tier starting to lag here with Eden and Grace in P14 and 15. Gibino in the wrong car, might have been able to match Brown if he'd have been in the Lamborghini like I told him to. Then we have Starclough in P17, Lino P18, and then we have the bulk of the AM drivers towards the back. Thacker and Merschel 19 and 20th. Then Van der Waal will be quite disappointed being in P21 there. And then Klugin P22, Richings in P23. Poppesill must not put that lap together particularly well, was in P24, followed by Handley in the Audi, which I don't think is really the car for this track. I don't think the Audis, I think they usually doesn't have particularly great brakes, if I'm right in thinking that, Jack.
I think the Audi's not the car for any track, to be fair. Very brave man selecting the Audi for the rest of this season because it's a bit understeery and then will snap on oversteer. So he's done a great job to get it up as high as 25th.
So then FaZe in P26, and then Kiskadman, who'll be very disappointed being down there. Oh, as we flicked in, and the heavens have opened.
Now, though, because you've got lightning rain within 5 minutes, a lot lighter rain, so this will potentially have stopped raining within 20 minutes, within a quarter of the 20-minute race. So whilst the track's wet, they're going to have to be careful, perhaps not on tyre choice because they're going to stay with wets for 20 minutes, but certainly on tyre pressures because you don't want this to be too hot. You don't want the tyres to get too hot and too overheated, certainly halfway through the race, because you'll burn the tyres up and potentially leave yourself open to a puncture. So a lot for the drivers to think of, more than they usually would here.
I mean, what a wild and wacky setup for a 20-minute sprint race of all things. So it looks like we're going to get a 50-50 race here. I highly doubt anybody's going to pit for tyres, not amongst this lot. Maybe someone in the mid-pack might throw a bit of a gamble for those going off against their competitors, but I don't think any of the pro drivers are going to be made unstuck by worrying too much about tyres in this. So they'll get the pressures right, just like Jack said, and they're going to wander off into the distance, trying to do a bit of managing. But anyway, whilst we've got a couple of minutes of waiting while the drivers do make those all-important adjustments to their setup, it's important to mention the Super Sprint Sunday and FRL as a whole, sponsored by SimNet, provider of high-quality sim racing equipment that is compatible with console. So find your way over to their website and have a look and enhance your sim racing setup. Further to that, obviously, if you are interested in racing online, do make sure to join the FRL community. They've got you covered for iRacing, Assetto Corsa Evo, GT7, Formula 1, WRC, and many other things that are four wheels and racing online. And I'm sure they'll be the first ones to jump on all these new releases that are coming by the end of this year and the start of next year. So keep your eyes peeled for those. If you are looking to join, as we've already seen somebody already in the comments joining the server, do just drop a comment. Nick of Eldman's in the chat there. He'll drop your line to the Discord and get you involved in whatever racing you fancy a hand at. If you're enjoying the content that we're providing with you here, make sure you subscribe to the FRL YouTube channel, like and subscribe to us. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the times that we go live or put up content. It's a fantastic racing community, always packed grids, and it's sim racing at its very best. If you're already part of this wonderful community, do consider joining the Patreon for just £3 a month, 10p a day. Run your P to FRL. We can bring you all sorts of fantastic benefits, starting with your saved favourite number for your car, early access into racing events, that's priority access, your own practice server, amongst many other fantastic benefits. Obviously, Patreon is scalable, and you can work up and up and up, supporting your FRL racing community. I don't think I've missed anything. Obviously,
I think that's pretty well covered. I think that's pretty well covered. Have you seen dry weather within 5 minutes? So I do wonder if somebody might have gambled on dry tyres if they're out of position towards the back.
I mean, that is incredibly quick. That's only just rolled over, hasn't it?
Yeah, it did a couple of minutes ago whilst we were going through sponsors, so certainly not much time for the drivers to react.
As I've just seen, car 71 has been set to the pits. That is Vanderwall. So
probably the worst place to not hit drive. Probably the worst place to be starting from the pit lane, especially with it as wet as it is now.
Oh, as we have a drive-through of car 79, but tragedy comes over immediately and covers Crossman. He enters the first turn. Will there be a bit of a dive? No. And Adam Sharp is through. We go back to the pack, and it looks like all well and good so far. Look, Heyman's trying to find his way to the inside. He's going to have Amica in the Ferrari trying to find his way around the outside, and he does. As Brown, who dropped back initially, but then Brown's getting crowded out. Brown's going to have to find his way around the outside, and he goes off track in the process. Then comes back on, and we have a spinning Ferrari, but it's been just corrected with a crash. But now we've got a Mustang across the grass, and we have Brown having to catch. What a hell of a snap down the pit straight.
Bino's also involved. I think he's had contact with Brush Tully in the Porsche there going down the straight. Obviously, a lot of these
got
drivers
Ferrari going wide into the wall down the back straight. Didn't quite catch who that was. Car number 2, Brush Tully.
Yeah, so I was just talking about him there, and as soon as we flicked over, he got hit up the backside again. Very difficult for these drivers with such the spray coming off. A lot of these will be in the cockpit view, and of course you're almost blind if you're towards the back. So
the gap to P2 is awfully close. Sharp and D'Amica right on the back of this, and then Crossman's gone deep, and Sharp is through. Sharp's going to claim the inside here. Crossman's going to try and fight around the outside, but then gets muscled out. D'Amica fancies his chance around the outside, but he's going to find himself on the curb, lacking traction. And now D'Amica's found a bit of traction again. Can he dive it down the inside for the final turn? Crossman turns in, gets turned. Oh no, and he's washed out. And now multiple cars are going to come up behind him and overtake him on the straight. So Crossman, after initially great qualifying, dropping positions.
Of course, he is dropping positions on the track, but he will stay in the lead for Ram. So perhaps not a bad thing if he drops behind a couple of the quicker drivers and just concentrates now on maintaining race pace here. Yeah. It's okay for Crossman, even if it looks bad on the camera.
So I've just seen Chex himself make a great 1-2 move through the opening corners on Heymans. Further back, oh, we've got a stopped Mustang. The BMW. Who was that?
Colpitts,
yeah. Just got caught up in the opening corners.
We're looking here. So it's Chris Gedman who had the drive-through penalty, probably one of the worst places to get one. We've got Van der Waal now just finishing his
lap. We've got a rejoining Ferrari ahead. Who's the purple Ferrari there?
Might have been D'Amica. No, he's a little bit further ahead, isn't he? But he is a purple Ferrari. He could well have been Serpentine, I think.
It was Serpentine. So Serpentine has now dropped back behind the BMW of Colpitts now, I think that is.
So yeah, there's no other person it could be. Colpitts there moving back up after a slightly tricky earlier start to the race.
Oh, so we've got an incredible battle down in P18, P19. Eden in the Aston Martin, and then the Audi ahead, trying to duck around the outside, but he's going to get muscled out. There's too much for a train there, but no, he finds space, and can he duck himself back to the inside for the following turn? We get a bit of a tap on the Ferrari behind him. The Ferrari ahead of him just goes a little bit wide. The timing screens are just catching up on ourselves.
So, bit of a sensible pill there from Thacker. He realised that once the position was lost to Hanley, they're in different classes, so let him go. We're racing between the two, but it's about survival here for Thacker. Now second in class, but Kalugin just behind.
So Hanley really fighting this one back. So the Audi showing good form here. Should have listened to Veldman. He praised it, and now good luck, good fortune is finding it.
I think he may get squeezed out here. No, he doesn't.
No, but sends the McLaren of Richings off track, and Richings still fighting. This is the great battle side by side in the midfield. Loads of cars catching still. And Richings, I think, is going to wash wide again. But no, space is given. But now
Yonkin now, I think, going past, is it? Or is it Overtaker? Overtaker coming from the back, didn't he? Because he had a poor qualifying. He's now trying to make his way through in Pro. He's got past Eden, so he's not at the back of Pro. He's got a lot of work to do to get into the upper positions here in class, certainly. I think Crossman's in strife. He's lost a few positions here. Crossman is way back, falling down the order.
Oh, Overtaker's gone wide on entry into the final corners of the back straight. And he finds himself back alongside Richings. That Audi's doing a great job of defending, but all the same, it is backing up this pack now. And looks like Richings is going to keep this one for the moment. Richings breaks braver and deeper. So the Audi almost passed Lino ahead of him through the penultimate corner. But he's going to go dive down the inside again in the first turn. What a great move. Oh my god! As Mr. Overtaker overtakes too many cars and slides into the side of Handley. That will be one for the stewards.
Yeah, trying to live up to his name there. A little bit too late on the brakes here, especially in pack racing, and I suspect that he may see himself before the stewards with that one. All innocent, he appears to have got through, just an honest mistake, but I suspect that he may hear more about that. Whilst we were looking at that, we now have a new leader in AM. Marshall quietly lifting himself up to 10th overall, with Crossman hitting problems. Crossman now back in 23rd and now 5th in class, so we didn't quite see what happened there, just sort of dropped down the order. But Marshall doing really, really well in changeable conditions and currently off a well-deserved win.
And he's really, really catching Jablonski here as well. He looks like a man possessed going after these positions. He does have one of the best top-line speed cars on the grid. It just takes a little while to get going in the Mercedes. Now, as this back section winds up, showing his nose already, trying to get Jablonski to dip wide. But Jablonski, well, wise old head on him, and holds on to this, stays strong, doesn't defend clean air.
But this might be where those pressures I mentioned right at the start of the race, it might be where some have either over-pressured, it might well be where some at the moment are slightly under, but I think you're seeing a lot of drivers going forwards who perhaps you wouldn't expect to compared to their contemporaries around them, and I think it's a lot of it's going to shake out towards the end. It's a stable gap in the lead.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Jack. We've got Richings just gone wide at the final turn, and now got that's Donkin has just found his way past him. Nice, easy, routine move, despite the awful-looking state at the front of that Mustang in P16.
Yeah, we can definitely tell he's been in the middle of the pack, can't you, Donkin? Very difficult for him, I'm sure. Now,
as we've got 3 wide going into turn 4. Oh, and that is Mr. Overtaker again, getting his elbows out. Bit fairer than his previous move. And then we go back to Richings. Richings has found speed down the back straight, at least on exit of the corner, but then the Mustang winds up his engine and gets back ahead.
I think he could set him up out of here potentially, maybe onto the back straight. Certainly got to run on him if he can keep it pinned to the outside. No, Donkin just gets across. Still crazy at the back, isn't it? You know, you can see gaps of 2 or 3 tenths. Even Trotman now maybe looking for P22 on the inside of Eden here.
So yeah, you've got to watch out for that dive on the inside, because you can absolutely shorten the route to the next corner, but you're too tight on the exit onto the back straight, and you're going to lose a lot of time. So now he tries the inside of Starclough. Starclough going a little bit wide. I think Trotman will be tutting in his helmet at that one.
I think it's righted itself, though. He's just spun off.
Yeah, and now we might even get another one. And that is Grace, who seems to be glitching around a little bit. Maybe that would be the cause for his woes going off track there. As I see a Ferrari, I see 2 Ferraris in the background spinning away.
So the battle for P9, I think. P8, sorry, with Marshall now up into 9.
Oh, sorry, Jack. We've just seen that Sharp has actually got the lead now. So we didn't quite catch it, but Travaglioni must have had a hell of an error, because he was leading the race by about 4 seconds. And
yeah,
now,
he was, so
not only has he lost the position to Sharp, he's now got Checkmasov all over the back of him in the Lexus. And
quite something,
right there
bearing
too.
in mind last week, isn't it? With obviously having had a little bit of an argy-bargy in the set 2 in race 1, with Travaglioni not happy at a penalty given to him after a collision with Sharp in race 1. So this sets up a rather lovely subplot for us, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. And we also catch some of the drivers now wandering over for the puddles on track in the hope to try and cool their tyres down. Oh, and that's Travaglioni. That's Travaglioni back through. So I think they don't know what grip they're getting per corner. This is fascinating. And Diamica has also got through. Oh no, Checkmasov has got ears through on Diamica. Diamica's coming back.
I just wonder if the lead 2, perhaps, especially Travaglioni, obviously with his off earlier, might have just overdone the tyres a little bit, because Chepnazov isn't moving over to quite the same extent to keep his tyres. The Lexus is normally really tough on tyres. I wonder if Chepnazov, especially in that Lexus, might be able to breeze through, maybe take an overall win, which would be a bit of a turn up for the books, wouldn't it?
It really, really would. But it doesn't like Sharp did get a good exit there, but once again seeking the water. So it is Sharp and Diamica that look, they're seeking for the water. But speaking of Diamica, he's taking a dive to the inside of Chepnazov and he takes P3.
Fairly sensible driving there from the pair of them. Don't really want to be getting involved with any other class wars. You've got a battle for P5 too between and what is second in silver too, with Gabino and Colpitts. Colpitts, who hit strife earlier on but has recovered rather well. And as soon as I say that, Gabino gets rather a lovely exit out of the tight hairpin. Mind you,
Vidler's right there too. Vidler, I think, might breeze this round here. Yeah, it looks like Colpitts is looking for water on the outside, so maybe Vidler looking a bit more confident on his tyres at this point.
I think it's a little bit more careful than before with Vidler. Had been in the wars a bit last week, wasn't he, on certainly in race number 1, so certainly a bit of a return to form here for Vidler. We just need to make sure that it's a little bit clean cut compared to last week, as we've got, I think, still a battle for the lead, have we? It
looks like Tragoli has actually wandered off a little bit. But I've gone back to Mr. Overtaker because he is leading Yablonski and Richings with battling hard. But Mr. Overtaker is closed right in on Brown coming into the final turn. Now, that exit really tests the grip of your rear end, and you can get a really good run down into the first turn. But Brown, in the ever-present, ever-tractionist Lamborghini, has kept up appearances across the pit straight.
I would watch.
But Mr. Overtaker's gone for a dive. He's gone in for a dive into Rio. But can Brown cut back? Has Mr. Overtaker ever done it? No, he hasn't. He's kept it on track. But now Richings, having seen this, seeing Brown get compromised, is now right in the back of him. Unless there's a late move here. No. I think he's too conscious about Yablonski also diving him to go for that move for the time being.
Yeah, all fairly sensible there. Yeah, Mr. Overtaker there with a lovely block pass there. You have to be really good on the brakes in order to get that pulled up going down the inside, with not a lot of room for manoeuvre when you get to the apex. So both drivers driving rather well. Mr. Overtaker there did really well to get it stopped.
So going towards the back, P24 is Mornvegs at the defender from Popsill right now as they go into Tremonto, and he's been turned by Popsill. I'm not quite sure if that was impatience. I just looked away slightly to get the corner name, but he definitely got tapped and he's definitely round, and now he's definitely on a recovery drive, dropped back to just before Chris Kedman.
I think the one positive is there he didn't lose anything in class, but yeah, certainly a frustrating moment for Morningveg. But if he does keep going, he does at least gain a few places on the grid. So we've got to turn it into a positive here. What's Wazza doing there so far back? He's on the back of Crossman. Both drivers have had appalling luck this race, haven't they? Even if it is a battle for 27th.
Yeah, so I'm just picking up Handley in a highly praised Audi this evening, and he is looking at Serpentine and Marshall, but he got a little bit snaky on the exit curb in, and the Mercedes ahead of Marshall definitely looking for water like an elephant in the desert. He has to go offline, off path to try and find it. 3 very alternate lines coming through that section, just showing the difference in tyre performance. Now the track is only showing as damp now. Handley takes a super wide cutting entry into the corner. He's going to have one hell of a run now.
Yeah, Marshall can afford to lose these positions, but obviously it's a racing driver's pride. You don't want to get out of rhythm by losing too many, but certainly here it does look like his tyres are overdone, so he needs to get it to the end, because if he does, he'll win his class. So as long as he drives sensibly, he should still be fine. And I think that's what he's doing here.
Got missed overtaken, just overtaken Donkin around turn 12, but he's gone off track. Now Donkin, having seen that, is he flashing him? Doesn't look like it. All the drivers know it's tough around there, but no, he's gone off track again. I mean, I wouldn't be happy about it, seeing that, a driver that's just overtaken me, and that means.
I think it'll be okay. He got the move done long before, hadn't he? And I think now, not much for this race, but certainly in race 2, I think we could be looking at some penalties here for track limits. It's a common feature around here, and I suspect that with that being one of the pressure points, that may come into play later this evening.
Yeah, exit turn 6 I've always found quite tough for that.
Yeah, penultimate corner as well is massively tough on that as well, because if you just understeer even slightly wide, you get pinged. So certainly something to watch for later on, as Hyman's has the fastest lap in P8, doesn't he?
That's fantastic. Someone who's seemingly absolutely ace their tyre pressures to be in a window to actually put good time on those ahead, those that should be setting those times.
Got a move, I think, for P7 here. Move for P7, P6.
So that's Vidler on Gibino. Price of being in the wrong car, Gibino.
Yeah, if he was in the Lamborghini, he'd have streaked off with the other Lamborghini in 15th. I think he'd have done.
Oh, but then
streaked off.
But then Vidler has gone deep and wide, and now he's lost the rear, and now Gibino is back through. So whilst he may be struggling in the Ferrari, Lady Luck is on his side.
Gibino was battling for second, wasn't he, with Colpitts in class? So it looks like those two have been split up now, haven't they, a little bit? So with these two battling away.
But Vidler's found speed down the outside. This will be a test of the late breakers. Who dares? Vidler dares, and he gets it done.
Yeah, he had the high ground, didn't he, going into turn 1? So very easy there to drop the car on an obedient Gabino there.
Well, turn 1 is very much just a carrying speed point. The real breaking point is actually to turn 2. So if you can carry speed around the outside, you've only got to beat them to the inside of turn 2 rather than trying to prioritise the inside of turn 1. But he's gone wide again, but the rumble strips out there are a little bit kinder, and he's held it in place for now.
Yeah, see also our track limits chat earlier on, I think.
And I can see Chetmasov. I think that's just lapping traffic, maybe. That's behind him. But no, he's very close to Diamica, actually. And he's going to try around the outside as Diamica looks for water. But that water is massively running out. Could we see some really late lunges and big tyre drop-offs as the tyre performance, the wets, disappears? We are only on a damp track. You can run dry tyres on a damp track. So I can only suspect Diamica's tyres are massively overheating. But well done Travaglioli, actually, for what looked like a tough period through his tyres. Has actually regained position, regained speed, and is starting to extend that gap again.
I'd be surprised if Chetmasov went for this, because he's got nearly 10 seconds on Colpitts, and all he'll succeed in doing here is actually setting himself back on the race. And I want to see him overtake, don't get me wrong, but I'd be surprised if he actually does make a move here, because all he does is move himself back one position for the reverse grid race. So might be a few tactics at play here.
I think all he's going to do really is stuff like that. Just worry Diamica, get him to go offline, hope for a mistake like that one. Once again, Diamica is definitely struggling. He's looking for water, he's sliding wide of the corners, and he's just got to hope for a little moment like that. And it looks like Diamica's gone a little bit deep there as well. A bit snaky on entry, but he's managed to regain it round.
Might also be a battle for P5 towards the end. Vidler has tried and failed to pass Colpitts twice already on this lap.
Oh, as Diamica does go wide. Now Chetmasov cuts back. Goes looking for water where Diamica doesn't. Diamica fancies the position, over keeping his tyres in play. But is that going to cost him as he comes into turns 12, 13 and 14? Diamica holds steady, actually does defend marginally to the inside.
We're going to get them across the line now, aren't we?
We are.
Here
So
comes
Travaglioli, who at one point did have a much more commanding lead, but the lead doesn't matter. Listen to Dominic Toretto. It doesn't matter whether it's by an inch or by a mile. Winning is winning. And Travaglioli wins the sprint for round 2, followed by Sharp by a second. And Diamico does see off Chetmasov to win in his tier. Vidler comes home for a P5 in class after not being able to catch this. And Colpitts a P2. And Jabino sees off Heymans for a P7, a P3 in class. Heymans has already crossed the line, and
Marshall crossed the line to win the AM class, if you like, and that is a very, very good drive from the Frenchman there. Now, the mature drive after last week as well. I know he had some difficulties, but he dealt with those rather well. And where are we going now to? P16, I think, Lino? Across the line, then Yablonski ahead of Thacker, Trotman and Cherrymore. I think there's been some more moves. Yablonski's dropped a couple of places, hasn't he? You've got Kelleher coming across the line now in 21st, Del Kelleher, and he moves upwardly mobile. He's 5th in class.
Oh, we've got a battle coming across the line. This is FaZe and
Kalugin, I think.
And Kalugin. Oh, as the former co-commentator drops into the chat, Owen the Retro Ghost says hello. What you can do while the baby's not here. It's not here just yet. And then Coppins comes home in P33. And Warmweg. And I can't help but notice that Crossman... Oh no, he did finish in P25 in the end. So I thought he would have found his way back to the top, towards the top of the AM tier. But he didn't. He's down in P25. But bodes well. I mean, he definitely showed speed, so now he'll start from towards the front of the AM tier going into the next race.
It will be interesting to see if we get another condition set like that, because there's a pit stop involved next race, isn't there? And by the end, I would suspect that they might have been going towards dry tyres if a pit stop would have been sensible. I think Crossman as well, everything seemed to go wrong after about the first 5 minutes. He dropped back a couple of positions and never looked confident. I don't know whether there was any collisions, but certainly for him, I suspect that he's actually got a pretty good chance of winning the AM class, certainly in the reverse grid race, on account of the fact that he'll be further towards the front than I think we all expected him to be.
So, as previously explained, we are going to just quickly jump out of the server, show you some highlights, why the admins look to reset the server with the reverse grid previously mentioned. So, let's see. Not that one. So, I'm going to stick this on Crossman just for the initial. So, Mr. Brown shows. He actually did choose the tries, which came good only in the final lap. So Crossman, like I said, did get away well, did get cleared by Travaglioli, and then Crossman got to the first few corners. Then got a little flick wide.
This seems, well, someone said 4 separate incidents for Crossman, so certainly wouldn't send him to pick your lottery numbers, would you, if he's got luck like that?
No. So here he gets picked up by Sharp. He does squeeze him quite heavily over to the curbing. So still, well, like I said, he did drop back quite a lot from Travaglioli, presuming a setup deficit. Oh, didn't want to show us all of it, but it seemed to be clean for most of the start of the lap. But then, yeah, we go to Handley on Thacker. We did catch this in the stream, going all the way around the outside of Thacker. There was a great move, only a little bit of a tap, but that's all fine. It is GT3 racing after all. And then got straight on the back of Richings to get going again. So we pick up with Crossman once again. This is why he's only dropped down to P6 so far. So we've not had the major incident, which made him dismay all the way back to P25. Oh, and there it was.
There we did. I think it was Marshall involved there just a little bit, and there was, I think, 3 wide. Never going to work through there, is it?
No. We didn't quite catch it on the cameras there, but then he got going. And then, yeah, Mr. Overtaker involved in his own set of peculiar incidents. Oh, sorry, Jack, I'm just getting a bit of feedback from your side.
Okay, no, that should be fine now. That's,
Okay.
I think myself, I can dropped it on a soft surface, so we're all good.
So, yeah,
So we're
nice.
on lap 1, aren't we? Richings and, is that Richings and Mr. Overtaker?
That
so
was
difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult. So lap 3 currently.
Difficult with the spray kicking off there. Like I say, most of these drivers being in cockpit view, you always can't see anything at all. So you got to rely on the light in front of you a little bit.
Now, see, for me, I always go on the bonnet cam. I just think that in real life, yes, whilst the drivers are sat inside a cockpit, I do think your eyes in real life do so much in terms of depth perception, filtering stuff out, balancing, and undoing the reverberation of the car, that I reckon the bonnet cam is actually probably a fairer reflection of the inputs that you get during racing. I do understand why people do use bonnet cam for that realism element, but I think in terms of what your inputs you actually get in a real life car and what your brain and your human instincts can actually do, I think bonnet cam is, I think, more appropriate rather than almost putting yourself at deficit by being sat in cockpit cam.
I use Chase.
Oh.
I use Chase. I can see more there, so the logic is to try and avoid early incidents. It usually serves me well, but I use Chase for that reason.
I've got an image to share with you afterwards that comedifies people using Chase cam.
I'm not sure. I'm quite fragile. I'm not sure I want to hear it, to be honest with you. I've had a bit of stick from people already about it, but it works for me.
It's all light-hearted, and it's not particularly nice on the bonnet cam people either.
Come at me.
So yeah, we are just waiting for the callback into the server.
If you're still in the old server, so yeah, move yourself out of there and just see. Because we've got, is that Brush Tully?
It is on board with Brush Tully for the start this time around.
Still not open.
And he tried to take a very tight line in on the exit of turn 5, and the other cars didn't have to and couldn't quite comply with his request for the corner. And he's going to get... Oh, and he gets dived by a wild green Ferrari up the rear. So not
might have been a carry on from before, but yeah, certainly a lot of beating and banging in the early laps, wasn't it? And I think a bit of a carry on there was try and regain control almost of the vehicle.
So yeah, that move from Handley once again as the highlight cycle. I didn't realise he had to come from the inside to the outside just before the corner to make that outside move work, so even more impressive. And actually, if I just change the camera here, yeah, I can't quite, from that angle, I can't quite tell if that was Crossman S-ing the line through the corner, or it was the car on the inside of him drifting into him. It's hard to tell from that angle, but that's one for the stewards.
Sure, it will be. It's difficult there because if you on the right hand side, so if you go towards the outside there, it's so difficult because you kind of rely on the car not S-ing it, not taking the normal line. So I think there it's kind of 50-50. It's almost 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in terms of, you just all trying to squeeze through, especially with the pack tightly bunched up. But you are always relying on the car on the inside, almost sort of seeing you and not coming across too much.
Yeah, it's a lot of compliance, and it's almost anti-racing to say no, don't come across me. It's almost like papaya rules between two competitive cars.
Never going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
There's always going to be a pinch point.
Obviously, everybody comes with their own racing philosophy, but they're all meant to abide by one rule book, which is the FRL rule book. But as far as I'm aware, in terms of racing positionings, that is up for interpretation still. As we catch Handley once again around the outside, but that time it did look like Grace just loses the rear a little bit, overcorrects, and loses a lot of speed.
Reset.
Lovely. So we will jump back out of this.
He's still showing his rain on there as we go in. You'll probably see it as it comes up. So certainly looking forward to perhaps, as we've got a sunny or cloudy practice, certainly looking forward to perhaps seeing maybe a sort of 40-minute continuation of what we've just seen there, with some heavy rain early on, and then it's sort of drying out a little bit towards the middle. I think that could make things incredibly interesting.
But crucially, obviously you'll see now, the drivers will be due to pit. Just bear with me while I do the stream McGubbins. Unfortunately, there is no alternative way to set the camera in ACC. I think that's the one. Trying to find a car actually on the track that might actually. There we go. 2000 Yak will do. Yeah, that's the one. So as you can see, the timing line, as Jack mentioned, is all the way around here, and only there can you actually get your foot down, almost as you're meeting turn 3.
If you were to come in, we did this test before, if you were to come in for a pit stop and under normal circumstances, so you do only your splash and dash, for example, you would lose 52 seconds it would cost you. So that's something to keep in mind a little bit later on. Obviously, if there is rain in the air, they might consider something else in terms of when they might be best off to come in and change their tyres. And so that really does add another dimension, especially if it's changeable conditions, to the race that we've got coming up.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch who was going to be on the reverse grid poll. We're a bit preoccupied with getting you your highlights.
It might have been Eden. I think Eden was showing his 2 laps. And it's for those who completed 10 laps, and I believe all drivers did. I could have that completely wrong.
They did not. There was at least one driver that completed, what was it? Said 11 plus laps somehow.
It might well have been. I personally think it might well have been Eden that will be starting on pole, and if it is, it makes him favourite, I would suggest. But obviously, we'll have to wait the extra 2 minutes for that to settle itself down, as I think all of the runners and riders are now in position. So if you're going out there for a couple of laps, you can never have enough laps to get your eye in. I think that's true of Spazniak. Now, we're watching him now. And a bit of a baptism of fire, wasn't it? For he was reverse grid pole last week, and got shuffled back as an AM driver does. He's new to the league, so there's no criticism at all. I think he's conducted himself really, really well on the track in terms of he's not caused many accidents. Whilst he's not been the quickest driver on the grid, he's certainly not lost his head like he can get with some drivers. I think he's been exemplary in his hand driving.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually very complimentary of him last week. It was, speaking from experience, when you jump into a league with a lot of faster drivers and you find yourself in a leading scenario, maybe you haven't pitted yet and the drivers will come back at you, or you're just typically lapped. It's when you start falling back through faster drivers, and then especially when you get 2 or 3 that are following you, you let one through and then the next 2 want to dive through on you, and before you know it, you've caused an incident because you just wanted to take your corner. Now, there was none of that last week from Zabazniak, and it was very, very well conducted, and it's what we'd like to hope every single driver is able to do, but we know that it's one of the great things about sim racing is it's high pressure, it's technical, it's skillful, and people can get really in their heads. It's esports at the end of the day, and we can only hope that people come to racing with a competitive sporting head on them, and they take the sporting element of it seriously, and that's what allows all of us to have fun. Because obviously none of this goes ahead without rules being in place, stewards being in place, organisation, and car and driver placement in the tiers to make sure everybody is appropriately positioned to go racing. Obviously, all of this is set up. Obviously, we are so many leagues right now are struggling with certain server providers and server issues. We've been thankfully blessed in FRL not to have too many issues of that nature. But we do wish everybody in the broader racing community to have safe and stable servers going forward, because that's what it's all about. It shouldn't be about stability. Obviously, we're not going to name and shame the provider, but obviously we just hope that everybody has a good, stable racing experience.
So far it's held, hasn't it? So you can only really hope that it continues in that way. Obviously, we really don't like seeing races and championships, I guess, now being decided in that way in terms of connection. I don't remember us having any issues last week. I think the only one was we've got now. What have we got here? I think we've started. We've got Trevor Mendes. I think he's on pole position.
It says on pole position, but whenever I flick to him, is not appearing.
So that means Eden did not take pole, nor did Darren Mark Davies. So there's 2 drivers there dropped off the back and did not complete the allotted time. And so, yeah, you can't really see. I think that's just ACC doing ACC things, isn't it? When you try and look for Mendes, it's trying to get him around the other way. So we might have to focus on Brush Tully, who, going from second, I expect to have a decent race. It does look as if, while a little bit hot, the track should be dry the whole way through. It does look like it's going to be okay. Of course, when I say that, it'll do what it did last time and change the weather, won't it?
So Eden, I can see in the chat, is questioning how he's not first when he finished last. Now, there's a caveat to that, Eden, where you do have to complete 75% of all racing laps. I didn't quite see where you finished, but I suspect that's probably why you're not leading in this reverse grid race.
He was showing his +2 laps, but I didn't know whether that was +2 laps to the leader or whether that was +2 laps to the car in front.
I think that's to the car. That's the car ahead of him, not the leader.
It would have put him on the bubble then in that case, wouldn't it?
It
would have put him on the bubble.
So, not long to go now. Just under 2 minutes until race start. It does look like the drivers can at least start on dry tyres today. Want to maybe pit. Put a lot of fuel in, prepare to take these tyres a little bit longer, because if there is rain coming this time, they do have the option to pit for those wet tyres, and it shouldn't affect the strategy all that much, other than actually getting on the tyre.
Yeah, unless you get damage, you'd be pretty silly to stop early, I think, because you don't know. You've been told that it's going to rain or potential for it to rain, so you want to make sure that you cover all options. You effectively want to be able to just do the one the 1 litre of fuel and effectively fuel for the rest of the race. Now, you'll also want, with the track temperature being so high, you'll want to maybe open your brake ducts up a little bit to allow for cooling, and maybe take down your tyre pressures, because what you'll get here if you don't do that and you leave your tyres up to potentially overheating, then you'll have some issues there where you might need to actually stop for tyres, which is not what you want to do in a 40-minute effectively sprint race.
Yeah, especially a track which does promote oversteer, with you sliding your rears all the time, and you're going to find those burn out really, really quickly. Let's see if it's letting me look at Mendes anymore. No, it's not. Brush Tully it is. So crucially, the drivers are waiting to go around turn 16, which is noted as the Misano corner. So wave hello to Misano before you get on your way. Did this change for Mendes at all? No.
Van der Waal starting in the pit lane, so that tells me that was a qualifying infringement for the Dutchman.
Wonder what he did.
I reckon we'll start pretty quickly now. Can we see Mendes? We can. Phew.
Just put him on the wrong side of the barrier. Mendes is go, but it does look like Brush Tully has got away well. He's going to find his way into the first turn and ahead, and Brush Tully and Mendes has lost that position already to Mornweg, who's got ahead of him. We're going to wait for the timing screens to give information, but then Mornweg has gone really wide, and now it's opened the door for Starclough, who's just behind Mendes. I suspect this one's going to be picked off fairly quickly.
Yeah, a little bit of contact early on as well. I think we've had issues with Colpitts, I think, in car 94. Certainly Spashniak was spun at turn 1, was hit from behind, with Brown as well losing some time. So not quite the issues that we had last week, but certainly a few drivers in the wars early on.
So Starclough really going for it. He's found the outside line going into turn 10, and is going to see it out. There we go. So I'm not, despite the pit window opening, I'm not expecting anybody to pit early here. They do not have a forecast long enough to really determine what's going to come of the weather here. I'm just going to board with you, Blonsky, who looks like he's going to dive 2 down the inside into turn 13. As we see the Audi going deep and wide, and that's taking the Lexus off as well. So 2 cars that were fighting furiously in the previous race find themselves both out in the gravel.
Yeah, a bit of action there. I think there's another driver who is coming in, so we'll just see who that is entering the pit lane.
I think
someone's decided to gamble, and that is Mr. Overtaker. There's a few. Travaglioli's coming in, so they're all gambling on there being no rain. There's about 8 cars. I'll just see how far out they are when they come back out. But they're all gambling on there being no rain for the remainder of the race, which is fairly brave given what we saw on the loading screen.
So Mornweg stayed true and is holding on to Brush Tully. So this is for the lead and amongst the podium positions for the Silver Tier. The Silver Tier drivers put themselves in a good early position now to start coming through. And I've found Popsil on Coppens looking to push quickly through the AM Tier drivers as he already dives to the inside, but his nose is going to get cut off around turn 10. But then Coppens has gone deep and he's going to have to find some extreme traction here to fight off Popsil, but I'm not sure he'll fight this one. Popsil already moved forward, and looks like Wazzer as well with the grunt of the Bentley is going to fight his way through as well. But now will Wazzer think about a move on Popsil? He's found an awful lot of speed. And then further back, that is Grace trying it around the outside of Crossman. Crossman did leave him room, but Grace took precaution and went deep. So
Crossman there leaving him a bit of space as well, isn't he? I think in the Mustang, but all settled a lot better. Crossman looks a lot more comfortable in the dry, doesn't he, in that Mustang, which is understandable. It struggles in the wet, but certainly one of the favourites, I think, to win. Certainly in AM, but possibly overall.
Certainly. So Gedman on this pack as well. So this is the Pro Tier pack that didn't do so well in the last race. That are now. They really need to dispatch these AM drivers quickly. And, as he gets caught out by the Ferrari something ahead of him, that's Coppens dropping through the pack. And now Kalugin and Gedman have got an opportunity here to throw one in on Coppens. Gedman's gone wide and he's gone tight to the inside. Can he go late on the brakes and get it done? He has to tickle his car through the corner. He's just about held his brakes, but now Kalugin looks like he might go around the outside of both.
How that happened was going into turn 4, Crossman made a little bit of contact with Coppens going down the inside. Crossman passed him, but it moved Coppens right out to the outside, and that's where you saw the concertina effect now.
So now Crossman has got a bit of clean air now, and he can go chasing after Mendes for what will be, at least for now, whilst he still stays in AM. I don't believe he will stay in AM. And going to chase down Mendes.
Got 14th Cherry Moore holding off Richings at the moment. That could be a good battle, as Richings, the faster driver on paper, is just starting to catch up.
But then Richings dives into the pits. Thinks, okay, I might
mess with me, didn't he?
Yeah.
Decided to mess with me. He must have heard. Because of the commentator.
I think what that is, Jack, is whilst he may think, do you know what, I've got Cherry Moore in the bag, but he's seen that pack ahead of him and he does not want that smoke. He'll just lose too much time going through those cars to make it worth it. Think, I'm going to pit, I'm going to find some clean air, and I'm going to go back out. So we'll keep an eye on where he filters back in.
It was a bit of a battle for the lead, I think. Morniveg is only half a second off the back of Brush Tully, so that might be something to keep an eye on, certainly. I think Evans just past Coppens.
Sorry, here's Yablonski inside of Coppens. That's a routine move, and Coppens slowly falling back now. We did suspect he would be, and that's FaZe trying to fight it through as well, but this is for position within class, so I reckon Coppens are going to fight this quite a lot harder, and he's finding that... Oh no, sorry, that's Cherry Moore.
All of them there. Cherry Moore just trying to see if he can pick any of them off with Coppens and Fars now side by side. Cherry Moore just behind in the lighter colour Ferrari, seeing if he can pick up any scraps.
Oh,
not that way though.
Not that way.
Must be.
Oh, and a big whacks the rear wing just for good measure.
Second commentator's cursing a lap there. Let's see if there's any further battles. There's Darren Mark Davies and Kelleher, I think, battle for 21st at the moment. And straight away, as soon as I said that, Kelleher spins once again.
Like Zeus throwing lightning bolts from the heavens. So currently leading those out the pits is Mr. Overtaker. He's got 18 seconds to Daniel Davis ahead. That time is going to come down rapidly as long as it stays dry.
Yeah, Travaglioni just behind him as well, so the winner of the earlier race. And provided it stays dry, then they'll be in a really good position. But you just want to make sure then that you've got enough in the wet, or enough time just in case it does start to rain. You want to make sure that you build up enough of a gap, because if it does start to rain, which it's been threatening to, then you might have issues later on in the race.
So I've just picked up in P16 Jabino, really closing in on Thacker for that 15th place. It's quite an awkward position he's in, because he's got to go through a pack of a bunch of drivers that aren't in his tier that may or may not fight him, because towards the mid-pack back of the grid, where the AM drivers are starting to populate, they are going to start defending and fighting these positions to keep those buffers with the upper tiers.
I think we got a battle, have we, for 17th versus D'Amica. I think that might be the closest on track action at the moment.
So D'Amica, a little bit bumpy and has gone wide in entry into turn 15. He's got himself back together though, and he's going to have to reinstigate that hunt.
Just pleased that's the first time in about 3 laps that have called something that they haven't spun. So I'm pleased to get that monkey off the back. We've got as well battle for P10 showing as very close. Gedman versus Jablonski. Then that's also for position in class. So could get very racy going into the hairpin now. Gedman cautious traction, but is he going to hold him off here, Greg?
I don't think so. I think Jablonski's got this one. Gedman going very, very tight in onto the entry, but Jablonski found the camber around the outside. Is going to round it off. Now you want to be on the inside for this next turn, but Jablonski's got to find the traction. The Porsche is the top traction car in the game, but Jablonski has carried the speed into turn 9 and now 10. But then Gedman is going to fight it back to the inside. Has found great traction once again. Now he's going to find his way to the inside to hold this backtrack section. If he can keep himself to the inside of turn 11, he's still got a chance as he finishes off. And then Jablonski goes deep and wide. Looks like Gedman has kept this for now. But then Gedman has gone wide and got a snap. And Jablonski is back through. But Gedman, finding the wider line, has now cut back and is now, for a moment, looking like hold on to that. But then having to regain the control of his car, Jablonski finally sees off the winning of that position.
Great drive from the pair of them, wasn't it? So Jablonski obviously to have the courage to make it stick around the outside, and Gedman to try and fight it down the straight there on traction. Excellent from both drivers there. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, I didn't expect these two to fight that hard. I really thought we'd see these two just coasting through the pack, because they don't have Kalugin not too far ahead, and he's being held up a bit by Popisil, who's just been quite patient behind Mendes and Grace. Speaking of Mendes and Grace, though, I think that was somebody there just went a little bit deep. I think that might have been was that the Zabazniak's car there?
It would be a lap down, I think, Zabazniak, as he just pitted. He has, I think, just pitted, so that would make sense if he is a lap down, because he had a torrid opening couple of laps there, Zabazniak. Can't right in the Ferrari. That is Zabazniak.
So now we are starting to get the front of the pack concertinaing up. Brush Tully has held on to this since the start. He's got Vormeg and Starclough, who's about to put a shape and some moves on Mornweg. Crossman closing in on this, so you can see him in the background, and Starclough doesn't want any more of it. He's gone into the pits. What about Crossman? He carries on, so he's going to chase down this pack now. Crossman have an absolute blinder here because he has found himself in an awful lot of space. So he has been driving into clean air for a long, long time now.
So slowly moving his way through, isn't he, Crossman? P3 now with Morniveg and Brush Tully ahead. Those two obviously in the higher class, so you would expect them to be getting away. Not so with how Crossman's been driving in the dry so far. So Crossman putting in manners on Wazza now in fourth, obviously the pro drivers, and I suspect that he might be catching, but he is starting to get a bit of a tight battle for the lead so far.
I've just gone back to Kalugin. Like I said, is getting frustrated behind Popisil, who just seems to be managing his tyres, it seems.
Watch the battle for 11th as well, as Hymans is attacking fast, I think, as he's not quite going to make it. The McLaren
he's gone for it. He's gone for it to the inside. Can they keep it clean? They can. And Heyman's still finding, despite the inside line, found great speed carried through turn 8.
And big daring on the brakes, wasn't he, Hymans? Getting it stopped really, really well. It was a late move, and sometimes those could be the best because they almost scare the driver in front out of the way, because it's the last thing you see before you then go to turn in. So good tactics there from Hymans, and fast keeping it clean, obviously being a class below.
Now, one thing I've just assessed towards the back of the pack now, but ultimately in the net lead of the race in terms of pitters, Starclough has actually come out ahead and missed the overtaker despite pitting later. So that should be crucial for the race. He's actually leading him by 3.5 seconds.
Interested to see how that goes. Travaglioli's obviously all over the back of Mr. Overtaker, so I suspect that the Mustang might be preoccupied with what's happening behind rather than ahead, as the battle for P21 at the moment hots up.
Yeah, so it's definitely key to be keeping a track of this battle, because eventually I think see Starkloff getting away now, and I think an overtake here is imminent. Does he fancy it in the final turn? Oh my goodness, that's risky. But he gets it done. Now, will that be considered forcing off track? I'm not too sure. It was late, and it did look like he scared Mr. Overtaker off the road a little bit, but it depends if he touched him to make him go there.
So the stewards go by a rule whereby front axle is alongside rear axle, which sounds familiar if you like F1. That's got to be before they hit the brakes, so that it's just for them to judge. Should Mr. Overtaker take that to the stewards, it will be for them to judge whether it's before they got to the braking zone or when they were in the braking zone as to where that happened. That will then depend on if there's any penalty or not.
So Mornweg and Bruce Tully currently navigating a bit of traffic. Oh, I'm buffering on your end again, Jack.
We've got now a battle, I think, for P24 as Sharp now goes to the outside of Richings. They've all completed their pit stops, but it's now just about
Richings
whether or not...
dives on the inside of Sharp. It's got that done, but then Sharp is going to get a cut back down the back straight. And now we've got 4 cars all in highly close proximity all the way back to Brown. And the braking here is going to need to be very precise. But then Eden, for a moment, looked like he was going to dive down the inside. Didn't.
But that is position gain for Adam Sharp. Sharp was just about setting him up going into the hairpin, and it's worked well, because coming out of the hairpin, Richings on the wrong line and easily set up for the exit down the long curved straight, so to speak.
I see Brown's got a good exit though. Not quite sure he's going to have the straight line to do anything about the Aston Martin of Eden, but he goes late on the brakes to try and spook him a little bit, and he has done. I think they're familiarising you with Alex Brundle in the comments.
I had that last week, so not a bad co-commentator to be compared with, so I'll take the positives from that. We've got a race on, meanwhile, for top 3. Crossman has now caught the back of, well, he had caught Morniveg, he's passed Morniveg, and he's now on the way to Brush Tully in the Porsche. So this could be pretty exciting now for Crossman, who's making his way through the pack.
Yeah, he just needs to be mindful of those that are coming his way. Keep an eye on his lap times, because he might do all this work and then find himself dropping just behind those that have already pitted. Because this has been great work. It just look, he's on rails in that Mustang right now. Not a car which you'd suspect would be stronger on a track like this, but that Mustang, I've driven it, it's handy.
It's certainly got a power advantage pre-update. I think it's been muted just a little bit, but certainly now, having had the weight taken out of it, it's a much more complete package. So a lot more useful around here, as we have Hyman's on Gedman, don't we?
Yeah, he's been brave on the brakes before, brave on the brakes again, but Gedman saw it coming and braked just as late and used the speeder on the outside. Keep that position for his for now.
So Gedman there having none of it, was he? Turning in on the outside, come what may. Left the car's width on the inside as well for Hyman's. Hyman's given the space, but not able to use it. But fortunately, no contact there. So driving standards there, impeccable going into the hairpin. So we're now watching Wazza on the back of Mendes.
Yeah, so Wazza trying to overtake the pole sitter from the reverse grid. Mendes actually doing a fantastic job, to be honest. Actually holding on to P2 in class.
Yeah, Mendes, to be fair, he's hung on well, isn't he? He's no more than about 10 seconds off of the true lead, which he'll admit himself he's not the quickest. As Wazza goes down the inside there in the Bentley, should be able to make it stick if he can pin him on the inside at turn 2.
But did Jablonski take it as well?
He has.
Yeah, and Jablonski just slides through there
for Mendes. Very sensible driving there from Mendes. Not in the same class, don't want to lose too much time there, but still keeping himself competitive. Didn't make it too easy, but knew when he was beat. Yeah, he's not more than about 10 seconds off of the lead. So in an AM car, and he admits himself he's not the quickest, but certainly keeping it clean here. I think he'll be on for a good result.
But I think in this period now, he's having to get multiple cars overtake him. I think that 10-second gap he's been keeping, I think, will start to diminish now. With the cars that are passing him. So obviously not something he can necessarily control, but it's about net losses, and obviously if you keep your net losses low, then you're on for a good result, as he does just marginally defend from Kalugin there.
Just needs to keep Kalugin at bay whilst he gets into a rhythm, and I think he'll be fine. Kalugin's a fair driver, so there shouldn't be too much bother there. But if he can just settle himself back down now that those quicker cars have passed, I think that will be the key here to a good result. But he's doing fine at the moment, isn't he? As we might have a battle for P10, have we? I think no, Hyman's has got Gebman now.
Oh, as I've just gone back to the front, Crossman has watched Rush Tully go a little bit wide at the final turn, and through this section, turns 1 and 2, he just looks a bit more comfortable going over the curbs, shortening the track distance. And I think if he can set it up, we should have a move going to turn 8 on this lap. Porsche is very well getting out of the hairpin though. And I'm not quite sure the straight's going to be quite long enough. Crossman's going to have to be very, very brave. He's going to make something on here. Nope, nothing doing there.
Might be able to set him up out of the double apex hairpin here. I don't think Crossman is an AM driver. Not sure about you. I don't think he is one.
Let's put it this way. I raced him in a different league and I positioned him in as a pro.
We shall see. We shall see then when that gets changed. But Brustoli keeping him at bay at the moment. They keep good exit there from the Porsche, which is of course its main strength. So he's gained a couple of tenths on Crossman just in sector 2. But I think it's here on the brakes where the Mustang really has an edge.
Obviously, it's a lot of car to stop. So whilst the brakes work highly effectively, there's a lot of kinetic energy still flowing through that car. As Crossman has enough, that's it, he's going into the pits. So this is a crucial pit stop for the lead of the race. And Travaglioli has just taken a dive on on Starclough and is now leading those who have been in the pits. And now he's just following Starclough actually. So Mr. Overtaker's down, and now Starclough, his next victim, is now with Crossman diving in with the fastest lap actually. So he's got the pace to be fighting these.
Just leaving the pits now.
So obviously it's an awfully.
We should soon get an answer.
I think these two have got him, you know.
Yeah, Grace has jumped him as well in the Porsche, so it might have been a bit of a slow stop there for Crossman. But yeah, I suspect that these two will pass him because of the fact that they're still at 30.
So yeah, a few more cars are going to overtake Crossman here. And Crossman comes out and he is just behind Mr. Overtaker.
The next fifth, I make it.
So that's two fiery drivers in Mustangs. There could be fireworks here. But if we go forward to Mr. Overtaker, he is lining up Grace. And he's going to let for the outside as Grace forces him out there. Grace brakes nice and deep. Finds the traction on that side, but goes wide. And Crossman's all over this already.
Yeah, Moggs is no mug either. He's a very difficult man to pass, as I can attest to through our previous battle. So Mr. Overtaker and Crossman, they're both going to have to work really, really hard to get past him, with Donkin not that far behind as well, looking to see if he can pick up any scraps, especially as he's got Starclough to go and catch.
Yeah, so here goes Mr. Overtaker. He's found the inside and he's found the speed and he's passed Grace. Now he's just going to get it stopped. Oh, and he doesn't. Grace with some supreme re-overtaking prowess as Crossman with a bit of a tap on the inside of Mr. Overtaker can't get that move done just yet. As, two cars go off track, and then Crossman able to dive down the inside and through. Now 3 Mustangs heading down the straight. That's one move, but I think all 3 of these cars will be a bit gutted to have lost time to Grace.
I think if you Grace, you're trying to get gone now. See, he's got a bit of damage, so he might be hamstrung a little bit, but you're just trying to get gone now whilst they all sort themselves out. Crossman, I think, the favourite to take this on now. It's been the quickest Mustang so far.
So he's just got to escape these 2, because the last thing he needs is battles. But now Donkin is coming on too, and he's had to go wide because Mr. Overtaker's put him there, but he had a much better drive out the hairpin than Mr. Overtaker did. Now he switches back to the inside. How's your brakes? Fantastic as it happens, but Mr. Overtaker does not know what quitting is and still fights it around the outside. He can't find the speed to make it work, but he takes a wider line, even slides the rear end of his car to make it work. Tries to cut back, and that is a bare exit, and in all this fighting, Sharp is closing on this as well. Now going forward to Travaglioli is Starcroft, and that's, I think we've got 15 cars.
I was waiting to tell you that Brush Tully had come out, but he's been lapping at BMW, and the BMW has unfortunately glitched right into him.
Duda,
it was.
Duda is glitching all over the place.
Yeah, he's glitched right into him. I was waiting for the moment to say that Brush Tully had actually come out in front of Travaglioli and was in the net lead, and I think he's got to come in again and pit because that car, the back end must be wrecked, I'm afraid.
Admin, if you can see Duda, he's all over the place. I think he needs to be called in. I think might have even fully lost him now.
The ping has gone up to red, so we're concentrating on the race now. Wazza is pitted. Where's he coming back out? He's ahead of David fast, but he's just behind, I think, the lead lot. I think he might just be behind Adam Sharp in the McLaren, just going through now. So I think that's where we are. Okay, so a drive through for track limits, and that's Mr. Overtaker. So probably one of the longest pit lanes to drive through beyond possibly Spa and Indianapolis. And Mr. Overtaker, we said this might be a problem, and it's come to pass. Mr. Overtaker, the first of possibly many to be serving a drive-through for track limits here. So that'll be a theme as we go through the rest of the race.
So picking up the battle for P3, this is a... Oh my goodness! As Popsicle gets the snap of all snaps. I've not seen that many snaps since my box of Cocoa Pops. And through Heyman's goes, not Cocoa Pops. That's the wrong cereal. Rice Krispies.
Bit of snap and crackle from Pospisil, and Hyman's pops through into third position. And you've got Jablonski now a little while back off of Morningberg. Morningberg certainly making the earlier running out of those that haven't stopped, as Gedman now pits.
But Jablonski, crucially, having to go through lapping traffic at this stage of the race. He's found, I believe that's FaZe.
Yep, that's David Fast, the Belgian, who's just finished his pit stop.
So Jablonski getting through eventually with a little bit of hindrance, but nothing that will perk the ears of the stewards. There's Gedman now pitting and coming out.
Overtaker serving his drive through now, and he will drop back an enormous distance, and I mean enormous. He's probably going to be coming out behind who's car number... Well, it's car number 23 is where he's due to be coming out behind. That might be a lapped car, but we'll see where he is. He drops out. He's already currently 22nd, and I would suspect that that may be more like 30th by the time this sorts itself out. He's just in front of Marshall, I think.
So it does look like Duda might have got his internet settled. I mean, it was a bit hairy for a moment. So
Mr. Overtaker 26th now, that's dropped into, and last in pro. He's got Vidler about 10 seconds ahead, Vidler. So that's his next target, is to see if he can get after Vidler, who's struggled a bit this race. He's not had the race 2 that he was hoping for especially with issues last week with the now departed Luke Prentice. This is something that he would look to recover from, and I would suspect that that's not what the doctor ordered for Vidler as we go to the battle now, I think closer towards the front.
So that's Popsill closing in on Heyman's. Obviously this was a battle that was undertaken a few laps ago where Heyman's made a fantastic move on Popsill. So I think Popsill had the pace to stay with Heyman's, always did, but track position seems to be king now, and the faster moving Ferrari is just going to hold on to this one unless Popsill can get ahead again and use his traction defence again to hold on to it. Well, I see Crossman now come onto the back of Duda. He'll be happy that Duda's internet has calmed itself down. If he can get through here, he's then moving on to a battle for the net lead of the race. Because if you see just ahead of him, that's Travaglioli. Yeah, just in front of shot there, Travaglioli. But Duda fighting this one back.
Bit of a fool's errand, isn't it, to be fighting this one, I think, if he's behind Crossman with still a pit stop to make, Duda. So might need to be a bit of sensibility here from Duda, I think, as well, with his early internet issues. I think we could expect to see him coming into the pits soon as Gabino pits from the top six. So I think we're starting to see this settle out now. Travaglioli obviously now in the lead ahead of Crossman.
So I think the risk of rain has now gone away, so I think most drivers will look to get their pit stops done sooner rather than later, because I think the undercut has actually worked significantly better than the overcut. So quite a bit of field spread here, so we're going to try and look for some battles to keep you interested. So we've got Chetmasov on the back of Eden.
There's a battle, I think, for 10th behind Duda. Duda obviously out of the running, even if he is 9th on the road. Battle for 10th here with Grace and Sharp might be the place to look, because they'll Concertina behind the slower car.
So Sharp, not too smartly there, electing to brake behind the slower car of Duda. But then crucially, Grace going deep and wide there, but then cutting back on Duda. And Sharp gets all the space he wanted from Duda, and off he goes. But now he wants to find his way back to the racing line, because last thing he wants is Duda pinching him to the next apex. Yeah, Duda's still there, and he's definitely got more speed around the outside. Defends that nicely, but then goes deep and wide, and Sharp dives it down the inside. He left the track, so every right to take a nice free position there. Now Donkin around the outside of the penultimate bend. Wazza's going to try and slip through as well. Sure enough, this is time for Duda to now come in. He's
thought he was going
struggling
to when he went to the inside, but no, to no avail there. Duda losing 3 or 4 positions here. Might be time for him to come in, as you rightly say, because not only are you losing time, but you're also losing rhythm. Whereas if you come out into relative no man's land, then he'll be better off for it.
So obviously we've got Mornweg still leading this race, but still needing to pit. There's 4 drivers left at the top, still needing to do the pits. We've got Coppins just exiting, and he's probably going to come out some way after Cherry Moore, I think.
This battle I can still see is the one for P7. Grace now holding up 4 or 5 cars, with Duda now dropped off the bat. You've got Sharp, Jablonski, Donkin and Wazza. Wazza being in the Bentley as well can make some hay down this long, I hasten to call it an acceleration period. It's not really a straight, is it? But no. Certainly in the Bentley, you'd think that him and the Mustang would be favourites for any passing manoeuvres here. Looks okay at the moment, but Grace certainly a bit of a cork in the bottle in that damaged Porsche.
But I think the problem that the Mustangs are facing, if it's the overspeed that they're going to use, they need a little bit of a gap to overshoot the car and make those braking moves. But they can't do that when there's 3 cars sat in front of them, being an obstacle to where they want to be on completion of a move.
you might want one of the McLarens in front to perhaps force the issue a bit, force a gap. Because if it unsettles one of the lead drivers, especially Sharp on Grace, if he unsettles the lead driver, then that's where they make the move. It's kind of at the moment playing a bit of a waiting game, especially if you was at the back, try and see if you can pick up anything, but you kind of want this to settle itself one way or the other.
As actually Blonsky down the inside, and yeah, he just about keeps on track. Sharp does as well, but now crucially, if Sharp push him out wide, oh, there's a bit of a touch, and now the Mustang of that's Donkin trying to thread the needle down the middle. How's your brakes? Very good, and I'm going to have both of those with a side of fries.
Especially as Sharp fighting Donkin now towards the double apex hairpin that you've got coming up. Donkin now keeping it to the inside, and look at Wazza trying to make a bit of hay. This is what I mean in terms of one of the drivers forcing the issue here and trying to see now with Donkin. I think he might just profit from this, and he might be able to get after Grace and make something happen ahead.
But now Wazza down the inside of Jablonski. He's forcing the issue on the other McLaren. So is it a swap for Bentley barge for barge, McLaren for McLaren?
Boat for boat versus the McLaren there is Jablonski, who thought he had 7th place. He's now dropped all the way back to 10th place. Heartbreak there for Jablonski, but still in a strong position in class as the lead 3. We wait to see when they come into pit.
And I can see in P5, whilst Crossman does have the fastest lap of the race, I suspect that was set earlier on, but he's only just keeping this gap to Travaglioli around about 7.5 seconds. So I think Travaglioli is going to, so far at least, going to come home for the win here.
Yeah, I think Travaglioli's got it in the bag, provided he doesn't make any race 1-star mistakes. I think he's got it. Crossman's not making an impact. Who might be making an impact is Sharp again versus Donkin. Donkin's going to hold on, but he needs to make sure his brakes are fine because the McLaren, through twisty bits, should have the upper hand here.
Yeah, but I think the whole group also wants to concentrate on actually catching on to Grace. That's the two pro drivers, Sharp and Wazza, really thinking, I don't really want to be fighting Donkin. I want to be after Grace, but I can't do that without passing Donkin. And all the while, Poppersill and Brown, just in the background there, if they keep squabbling, this is going to be a much longer train than they ever anticipated.
You and I can see that, but when you're racing in the moment, it's very difficult to park that. Very difficult to. All you're seeing is position, 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 rather than class, class, class. So when you're in the box like we are, it's fine. But when you're in situation, so to speak, then it often gets lost because you're focusing on the next car and the next car. Hyman's is pitted, so we'll see where he feeds back out. I think it's going to be behind this group.
As a Serpentine, only Mornweg of the leading drivers yet to do so. I'm not sure if he's hoping for some sort of miracle. He's only got 2.5 minutes left to make that move, and he needs to do it in the next 2 laps. If not
I think
less.
it'll have to be this lap, because with where he is on the track, it's not a guarantee that he'll be able to get round and be across the line by the time that pit window runs out, or be out of it. So I think it needs to be this lap for Mornibeg. We'll see now as he comes in. I'll keep an eye on it whilst this battle happens, and Mornibeg does pit.
So Donkin went defensive and then immediately into what looked like quite an aggressive move on Grace. It did spook Grace a little bit. Grace went a little bit deep into turn 8. But here's the real test. It's crucial for Grace to ace the start of it, but then you've got to use all the tools of the Mustang to try and come back at the Porsche down this bent straight. Oh, as just flicking out from behind the Porsche, using that overspeed, and gets to the inside of Grace, but then Grace with superior traction on the side. Oh no, as he just flicked under braking, and through goes Donkin with a bit of a push to pass. Grace through all of his hard work. I mean, I did think that Grace moved a little bit under braking, but that's one for the stewards.
usually seen as the responsibility for the car behind, but if there is sufficient movement, that's negated. But what it has done is promoted Sharp and Wazza up to 2nd and 3rd in class. Grace drops to 4th, and now he's got Poshbashil and Brown to hold off in the last couple of minutes.
So just waiting for Mornweg's position to update.
Mornweg has come out of the pits, and he's now second on the road and leading the class.
How was that happen?
His stint was pretty impressive. Once he got clear air, it was him and Crossman. They were both fairly evenly matched. His stint was pretty impressive. I was keeping an eye on his times. They were quite consistent. So Mordeveg's done really, really well to effectively jump Donkin and Jablonski. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty solid win, unless there's anything that we don't know about. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty solid win there for Mordeveg, and an excellent drive too for the McLaren.
I mean, that's a pretty lovely representation at the top there. Pro leading silver, leading Am for the podium, so that's really, really nice to see. I don't know how long that will last with a Crossman.
We say Am in inverted commas,
yes.
Do we? For the moment, I think it's fair to say pit window closed. I think they're just about to start the final lap, aren't they, Travaglioli?
Yeah, Travaglioli, unless he makes a dire error, I think has got this one in the bag. Crossman, however, if he can put the lap of all laps in, he might be able to scare Mornweg into an overtake, but it's still a long way to go with nearly 2.5 seconds. But Sharp super close on the back of Donkin.
For Sharp, it's going to be more about defence, because he gains nothing by weaving about and wiggling his wheels at Donkin. But what he needs to do is try and make sure that he's quick off of the right places, to try and make sure that the Bentley behind doesn't get a sniff at overtaking. There's no point in him going all out for an overtake, but at the same time, he's just got to manage the gap behind and make sure that if he's got any tokens, such as track limit tokens, that he uses them.
As I can see Travaglioli just coming down the back section of the track, and we will go on board with him to celebrate his win. Crossman is closing on Mornweg, but this battle for P4, I was thinking, whilst everything you said is absolutely right, Jack, what better defence is there than somebody else's car defending for you?
While true, you need to make sure that it's clean, otherwise you open up like we saw earlier with Grace obviously being shuffled back. You just need to make sure that as we do
go on board with Travaglioli, a fantastic, pretty much last to first win for the Pro Tier and overall, followed by Mornweg, who can see Crossman in his wing mirrors as he comes towards the end. Crossman wins by some margin the Am Tier, as does Mornweg over Jablonski. But now P4 is to be decided almost by a photo finish towards the line. Donkin is going to come home for a P2 in class, as will Sharp, and then was at a P3 in class, with Jablonski come home for a P3 in class as well.
Grace, Crossman won rather too well, didn't he?
Yes. And then Grace, I think, will have an incident to report, being in P8 and being quite close to those ahead of him, the ones that caused his spin. Brown with a very, very good drive back to P9. Popisil, P10, who just couldn't quite hold on to Brown towards the end there. Then Eden, and then the Amica, I think would have hoped for better coming from the back. Wanted to fight Travaglioli, probably. Check myself in the Lexus. It's P13. Richings, P14. I believe that's Kalugin, P2 in class. He disconnected, but I think he got classified, I believe. We'll know about that in a second.
Then you've got a load of AMs, haven't you, from 23rd onwards. Mendez in 3rd in the end, so it was cementing a really good result ahead of Marshall in 4th, recovering from earlier issues. Coppens, Cherrymore and Trotman also showing well, with Duda recovering in the end to 27th, wasn't he? 28th, sorry, as people have come back. So that is, I believe, 6th in class ahead of Fars and Hanley. And as soon as we do that, as soon as I go through, it starts to swap itself all around, as we've got Van der Waal in 30 seconds. His race really by qualifying. Thacker, Brush Tully in the end what might have been, Brasuni looked like the favourite for silver, didn't he? But he had to pit second time round after he got lagged into by Duda. I wonder if the stewards will see that. And of Darren Mark Davies, the commentary OG, Shabashniak, Callaghan and Starkloff, unfortunately retired at the back.
It's a shame for those obviously having to retire. Obviously, there were difficulties with Brush Tully and Duda and his internet. I'm not quite sure how many drivers he went on to affect. Obviously, some internet things are out of the driver's control. Obviously, we'll go on to get the highlights now, so we can have a quick look through those. I'm not sure if we've got any admins or drivers that have got access to this chat that want to come in for an interview, but they are welcome to do so. But there you are, guys. There has been your Super Sprint Sunday, sponsored by SimNet. It's been wonderful having you. I've noticed up to 21 people watching live at points, so that's absolutely fantastic. Make sure you've all liked, subscribed to the stream, share it with a friend, family member, loved one, hated one, mortal enemies. They're all welcome to come and watch the FRL stream, and make sure everybody is loving the best of sim racing on FRL's channels, and hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss a thing. We're just going to do at least once through the highlights. For that, we are watching Nikita Chekhmasov in the Lexus. One car, I must admit, I've not actually given much of a trial to in my time playing the game. But he's been very respectful. Oh no, he got a nose and then a rear end there, and I kind of noticed. I think Duda was lagging out even there. Oh no, there's a Mustang in the back there.
Might have been Darren Mark Davies. He was also having trouble early on, so I think that might have been an issue there for him.
So now we've got an overtake of the Audi on Adam Sharp. The Audi is actually quite far back here, so he gets one. Does he get two? Almost gets two. But opportune move on Adam Sharp, who did go wide. I think later on Hanley did get undone by Duda's glitching, but then they both elected to go into the pits in the end. And we have Wazza coming for an overtake on Popsicle. I think we caught this one. This was a really great late braking move down around the outside.
Yeah, putting a lot of trust in each other, weren't they? Especially Wazza in the Bentley. And in the end, it didn't quite go as we'd thought and hoped. But you're always putting a lot of trust into someone when you're going around the outside, that they don't run into you, and you trust in yourself to leave the space.
Yeah, you almost trust them in advance to hit their brakes that little bit earlier. It's not like you can do the extra braking later in the corner. You've always got to do it earlier. But here's Wazza again, going around the outside of Grace. I think we caught this one again live on the stream. I think this might have been... Was this the collision? No. Oh no, just a solid move around the outside by Wazza there.
Yeah, those two have known each other long enough that they know what the strengths and weaknesses are. So I always find that when you're driving with somebody that you've known for a long, long time, the process is that much easier, because if you're going against a newer name, you obviously have to find these things out. But if you're going against a newer name, there's always a little bit of intrepidation as to how much you can push it, because each driver's got their own limits.
So Skedman getting to on Coppens. I think we caught that one as well. Nice move into turn 4 and very late on the brakes, getting his car fully ahead. And this is Crossman on Mendez. Ironically, for the last time he'll probably make this move for the lead of the AM tier. That was just Mendez getting a bit out of shape over the curb on the outside, and Crossman well away by 2 corners later. All this just by lap 5. And this was Adam Sharp, Eden, defending from Adam Sharp. So yeah, one of the main overtaking spaces on this track is turn 8, named Quercia. And yeah, Eden really held on to this one.
Yeah, Eden fought it really well, and they lent on each other a little bit. I think going towards the outside was fair in that. But the Aston, the one problem with the Aston it has is that low range, it doesn't have a lot of torque. So you end up bogging down a little bit more. When you bog down, obviously, that doesn't just ruin you for the initial exit, but all the way down to the end of the straight, you probably lose an extra couple of tenths doing that.
Now there's Gedman avoiding potentially a very big accident with Jablonski there. If he hadn't corrected that car, he'd have turned and T-boned the side of Jablonski there, but well done, good car control over the marbles on the outside of turn 14. And there you have it, there's your highlights. And as we're not getting anybody in this evening for any interviews, we will call that a night. So thank you everybody so much for joining us. It's been great engagement, great viewership for tonight. Do make sure you get involved in the Patreon, join the server, join other racing, like and subscribe, all the good stuff. And we'll see you all next week, same time, 8 o'clock, SimNet's FRL's Super Sprint Sunday. I've been Greg, your main host, and he's been Jack Prentice, the co-host for this evening, and we'll be back and we'll see you again. Good night.
Thank you very much indeed. See you soon.